Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman, again. This is part 2 of the Book of Judges for Dummies. And got my beer. Hopefully you got yours. We're going to talk about some Hebrew literature. And starting off, we're going to nail down Judges chapter 1 and 2. So, you might say, what's going on here, Wayman? Well, forget about the rest of the biblical text, because we're not going to use exegesis. We're not going to use other pieces of literature to explain Judges. We're going to use Judges to explain Judges. And we're going to take this right out of the biblical literature and look at it as its own book. Already, in the first chapter, we can see that it's pro-Judah. The divine says, kill everybody. And they do. And they're one of the few people that do. So, the others spare the Canaanites, but Judah does not. They slice and dice. So they do everything they can. Chapter 2 should actually be first, because chapter 2 gives an overview of what we're going to read in Judges. It's going to tell us about all the chaos that happens in Judges. It's going to talk about all the ups and downs of the early tribal league of early Israel. And it's going to talk about how instead of slicing and dicing, they got the native peoples of the land to pay tribute, or lived with them, or assimilated them into the Israeli culture, and how that was a big no-no for the divine. So, if you look and read, and it was after the death of Joshua, so Judges 1 starts out that way. And I'm going to be reading from the Judaica Press translation. And I'll give a link to this because it's a Jewish translation of the Hebrew text. You know, why would we want a Christian translation of a Hebrew text? So we're going to use a Jewish one. So this is the Judaica Press complete Tanakh. Put out by Chabad.org. So anyways, if you go to chapter 2, you can see how it also discusses Joshua still acting, and then it tells of Joshua's death. So chapter 2 probably should be in chapter 1, except for the messenger. The messenger actually should be probably later in Judges. Probably at the end of chapter 1. So, chapter 2 should come first, because it talks about Joshua doing things, and then it talks about Joshua dying. This messenger comes up with a warning, and then chapter 1 goes into after the death of Joshua. So, a little mix up there, but it was accommodated. So here, it's pro-Judah. Judah does what they're told. The other people don't. Everybody else has problems. So, that is what the divine is upset about. So here we have a rendition about the whole thing of what Judges is going to be about. We already know. So if we read this first, Judges chapter 2 should be first. And the children of Israel did that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord, and they served Baal. This is Judges chapter 2:11. And they forsook the God of their forefathers, who had brought them up from the land of Egypt, and they went after other gods of the nations that were around them, and they bowed to them, and they provoked the Lord. And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Asherah. So here, I think the conflict, you see the idea with Elisha, and the change that the Creator had to make, because they were confusing Baal with Yahweh. Here you had two storm gods, two rider of the clouds, gods of lightning, and kind of like war deities. And then you had Asherah, who was a creator deity or goddess, and for planting things in corn. So while we're in this war, there wasn't any room for the divine to be a grower of seeds. Baal filled both those roles. Because they assimilated the Canaanite culture there was starting to happen some confusion there. And you see that Baal and Yahweh run almost alike together. So I could see how that happens. Verse 2:15, and whenever they went out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. As the Lord had spoken, the Lord had sworn to them. They were greatly distressed, and the Lord raised up judges, and they saved them from the hands of those who spoiled them. But also their judges did not obey, for they went astray after other gods, and they bowed to them, and they turned aside from the way therein of their forefathers, and walked, obeying the and they had from their forefathers had walked, obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not do so. And the Lord raised them up judges, and the Lord was with the judge, and saved them from the land of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord retracted because of their cry, by reason of them that oppressed them and crushed them. And it was when the judge died, they would turn and deal more corruptly than their forefathers, going after other gods to serve them and bow down to them. And they did not diminish from their practice, nor their stubborn ways. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. And he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their forefathers, and have not obeyed me, I too will not continue to drive out any man from before them of the nations that Joshua left, and he died, in order to test Israel through them, whether they should keep the way of the Lord, to walk therein, as their forefathers did keep it, or not. And the Lord left the nations without driving them out hastily, and he did not give them into the hand of Joshua. So, then should be the message of the messenger, which runs from Judges 2:1 down to 2:3. And the messenger of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim, and said, God's name, I will take you up from Egypt, and I have brought you to the land that I have sworn to your forefathers. And I said, I will not break my covenant with you forever, and you shall not make a covenant with the inhabitants of this land. Their altars you shall smash, but you have not obeyed me. What have you done? And I also said, I will not drive them out before you, and they will be snares or pokers to you, and their gods will be a stumbling block to you. So, after reading chapter 2, jump over and read chapter 1, and I'll make a little bit better sense of the context of what's happening. So here you say, the divine says, the tribes, the early tribal league says, who will go up first and, start conquering? And they draw by lot, divination. And this is spoken about against in Deuteronomy 18, 10 to 12, how they're not supposed to do it, but this is how they did it. And already, this is a kick in the side to the early tribal league and how disorganized they were. But even in Kings, you see them using these types of two-colored rocks to know the will of the divine. You draw a white one, it meant yes. Draw a black one, it meant no. But here they're drawing lots. So Judah was called to go up first in Judges chapter 1. And they go up and they slice and dice. They almost beat everybody. However, this is kind of interesting. For some reason in this text, Yahweh cannot beat the iron chariots. So they get beat out by iron chariots. So that's chapter 1 and 2. Remember that they can be switched around. And reading it, just try it if you're brave. And take care, friends. And remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking